Okay, so when looking at sort of the cardiovascular system and the circulatory system, I break it down into squares, which I find an awful lot easier. So what we'll do is we'll think about how we're going to get oxygen around the body. That is the fundamental purpose of this, which is basically the fuel for respiration. So in order to do that, obviously, you need a set of lungs. So for all intents and purposes, these will be your lungs. 2 of those, hopefully. And they sit up here. And obviously their function is to get air, oxygen into the body and carbon dioxide waste product out of the body. So that's their function. You've then got, in order to get this oxygen around the body, you have got a pump. And that pump is the heart. Now, look at this in a little bit more detail. The heart is split into 4 chambers, so we divide that up like that. And obviously, the purpose of the heart is to pump the oxygenated blood round to provide energy to the body, which is here. So this symbolises the rest of the body. And then get deoxygenated blood, which is carrying carbon dioxide, back to the lungs in order for that to then be expelled. So that is the primary function of the system. So we talk about the 4 chambers of the heart. You have 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. Now you've got the left and right side of the heart, and they would always be done as it's looking at you. So if this is how it sits sort of on the body. So this is the right atrium. So atrium in Latin is sort of entrance hall, so an atria. So that is always the entrance hall. Then we've got the right ventricle. Similarly, you've got exactly the same on the left side, the left atrium and the left ventricle. So what happens? Well, we've got to start somewhere. So let's start at the lungs. So we're going to breathe air in. Yeah? Simple principle. Now that is air that is rich in carbon dioxide. So what that does is put air into the lungs. From there, we've got blood flowing through the lungs. That blood will pick up that oxygen and it will take it back to the heart. And it will go into the left atrium. Now this blood is oxygenated, so anything in red is oxygen rich. And this vessel going to the heart is called the pulmonary vein. Any blood vessel going to the heart is a vein. It's carrying blood under low pressure, so that's the type of blood vessel it is, and they've obviously got certain adaptations. Pulmonary, because it's associated with the lungs, so anything as part of this circuit here will be that involves the lungs, and the heart is the pulmonary circuit. Okay, so once it gets to the heart, it's under low pressure. So we go from the left atria into the left ventricle, at which point there's a massive contraction from the heart, really powerful, and blood is then pumped all around the rest of the body. Now this is still blood that's rich in oxygen, hasn't been used up yet. The main blood vessel that leaves the heart is called the aorta, and that is an artery. Every single blood vessel that leaves the heart is an artery carrying blood under high pressure. Now, as you get towards the body, the artery will split, the main aorta splits down into multiple arteries, many more arteries. Obviously, you've got to go to the arms, the legs, the rest of the organs. And then we start to get into the system here. So we're in the body, and then we get a capillary network. So tiny, tiny little blood vessels, only 1 cell thick, and they spread in all amongst your tissues, your muscles, absolutely everything. And that means that that oxygen can get into the cells in the body where it's needed. Now what then happens is obviously you've got carbon dioxide within those cells, the waste product of respiration. So the blue pen is going to represent, so what we'd call deoxygenated. Now it's obviously not completely. Oxygen. So, and that equals carrying CO2. Right, so the capillaries conversely then pick up this waste product, this carbon dioxide, and travel all that blood, all that waste product back into the right side of the heart. Now, anything going back to the heart we said was a vein, so immediately we know this is a vein. So again, similarly to how the arteries work, you have a network. So larger vessels up here towards the heart, but you have many, many vessels feeding into it. Now the name of the main vein that goes into the heart is the Vena Cava. Now this is on going from the body. So again, we've got blood rich in carbon dioxide now, going into the right chamber of the heart. It will then flow sort of passively through into the right ventricle. Again, heart contracts, pumps blood back up to the lungs, and there it can then pick up some more oxygen. So the name of this blood vessel, it's going to the lungs, so it's part of the pulmonary circuit. And it's going to be an artery. It's leaving the heart, it's going away, A for away, so it's going to be the pulmonary artery. So what that then means is that we've got blood coming into the lungs under high pressure, again, can run through capillaries within the lungs, pick up oxygen, and then you're right back at the start. So we've then got to get that oxygenated blood back to the heart through the pulmonary vein, and then off we go again round to the rest of the body. Now, two circuits that we'll break down, the first of which we've mentioned a few times, the pulmonary circuit. So this section up here we'd call pulmonary circuit, where anything that's supplying blood to the rest of the body we actually call the systemic circuit. And that is because it is supplying blood to all the systems of the body. So pulmonary only is the lung circuit, systemic is all the other systems, so everything else in the body. So hopefully all that gives you a sort of a nice sort of image of what we're looking at here. So air in, blood around the body, and then sort of all the way around, and then expel the carbon dioxide here. So a really nice sort of breakdown of that system.